When I was a kid, I saw an ad that had a supersized family, and the caption read, "Some undernourished Americans have never missed a meal in their lives." And it took me by surprise because it never occurred to me you could be overweight and undernourished. I certainly didn't know anybody who was obese or had cancer or diabetes, and yet all those conditions exist now in my own family. And it's not just the old people, the kids are getting it too. You might even have the same story in your family. For a healthy tomorrow, we need to take action against the tide of epidemic disease, against the toxic, nutritional, and sedentary lifestyle of Americans. We're going to take a look at food's effects on disease and health. Americans are confused about food and nutrition and health, and it's no surprise since most of our information comes from commercial entities whose job it is to profit, to make us consumers of their product. Americans are getting diseased at an alarming rate. Heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans. In 2002 National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute's chart book of morbidity and mortality, it tells us that 3,000 Americans die every single day from heart disease. That's about the same number of people who perished in the 9/11 attacks. A high-fat diet is what creates heart disease. When you eat a diet high in fat, you get a cheesecake textured substance that adheres to the walls of your arteries, causing blockage, which makes it difficult for blood to get through. When your cholesterol is over 244, you have a 3 times greater risk of heart disease. And then there's obesity. According to the CDC's 2012 Obesity Trends website, over 1/3 of Americans, 35.7% of Americans are obese, and an additional third are overweight. That leaves less than 1/3 of the entire population at a healthy weight. Diabetes goes hand in hand with obesity, and there's even a term that communicates that metabolic relationship, and it's called diabesity. That's the name of Francine Kaufman's 2005 book, where she gives us some insight into the diabetic epidemic. Diabetes used to be called adult onset diabetes because the majority of the cases were in people who were over 40 years old. But today, there are so many young people who are diabetic, they no longer call it adult onset, they call it type 2 diabetes. In type 2 diabetes, your body creates insulin, but it doesn't use it. It's resistant to it. It doesn't metabolize sugars. It causes all manner of diseases, from heart disease and liver disease and kidney disease to amputations and blindness. It's just a devastating disease. And speaking of devastating diseases, there's cancers and autoimmune diseases, lupus, arthritis, MS, and they've been conclusively linked to heart disease, to diet. With a depth of understanding of how disease works on a cellular level, that's outlined in Leanne Disla's 2011 Whole Foods Cookbook. But there is good news. A plant-based diet research has proven that disease can be reversed, halted and reversed, as outlined in T. Colin Campbell's China study. This is his 2005 version. In here, he has extensively researched, well-documented observations and measurements with over 8,000 statistically significant associations between diet and health that show that a minimally processed plant food diet, high in fiber and low in fat, can reverse disease. This picture is from his book. This is in a study by Dean Ornish and Cadwell Esselstyn Jr., where you see here an artery that's occluded by fat and heart disease. And here, this same artery, after consuming a plant-based diet, has cleared. This is proof that you can reverse heart disease with a plant-based diet. Antioxidants and fiber are the hard hitters with with reversing reversing disease. Antioxidants and fiber are found exclusively in plant foods. Antioxidants are what gives fruits and vegetables their vibrant colors. And fiber, it acts as a sponge. It's not highly digestible, so it just kind of goes directly through, but it absorbs toxins and it draws them out of the body. In Dr. James Anderson's 1986 study on dietary fiber, he shows where 96% of his diabetic patients were able to discontinue their medication after only 3 weeks on a high-fiber, low-fat plant diet. If you're fatigued, constipated, stressed, half-starved, and desperate for answers, there is hope. It's time to push away from the royal table of saturated fat, empty carbohydrates, and sugar. Imagine yourself basking in the pot of gold that is good health after you've eaten from a rainbow of nutritious, vibrant food.